in the mountains where the pine trees glow, folks come together for a music show. No ticket needed, just bring your cheer. Value for value is why we're here. The sun dips low while the firelight dances, tunes get rolling and our spirit advances. Pass the hat for the band you see, your support is what makes us free.
Hello and welcome to Podcasting for Value, one nincompoop's attempt at starting a value for value podcast and learning how to speak. My name is Josh. I am said nincompoop, and that music you just heard was definitely not from any nincompoops. That was Johns Creek Studios M2H2 Mountain Music Happy Hour. I'll be playing that entire song at the end of the show. And also putting a split in for Johns Creek Studio. Another thing that is different is I'm testing streaming live right now to hivetalk.org, which is a Nostr-enabled video chat. Think of Zoom maybe with video and a chat room, and it's all free, and it's utilizing a technology called WebRTC, I believe it is, and it's enabled in a browser, so you don't need any hardware or other software, just the browser, and you can connect. So this will be good. This will fit in perfectly to what we're trying to do here as another free technology that you can utilize while making a podcast. And it's working pretty well. I've started this about 3 times already, and my good friend Ivor jumped in and helped me kind of troubleshoot it. And so now I think everything is going well, streaming to there. The audio is working. The only way that it can really work is by streaming another open source piece of software, which I'm using for the first time to record this. Oh, I meant to start Audacity as a backup as well. I think I'm going to do that. So I've been using Audacity, which is only sound. But OBS records video as well. So what I'm doing is I'm streaming. I've got 3 monitors, a big one, a medium one, and a little one, which is actually my laptop screen. And so I've got what I want to stream onto there. And since this will be mostly audio, what I'm doing, I've got the website to the lnbeats.com, lnbeats.com, which is where I found this music and where I'll be probably getting all of my music going forward. And so this is good because I can actually walk through what I'm doing and how I'm going about getting the music, which is going to be much easier now. Before I had to track down the actual MP3 file and then kind of use ninja tactics to find it, or to find it and to download it. But this with LN Beats, it looks like there's a download button. And so with that, why don't we just go into and talk about value for value a little bit.
How can I help?
I tell you how you can help. You can create great music, like what I played before. And so I found that music just by searching for it on LN Beats. there's a search function, and then DMU, which is decentralized music, and you can click that, and there's a bunch to choose from. And then I just was listening to ones, and the one that caught my attention this time was this M2H2. And then from there is a website called the Split Kit. And it is thesplitkit.com. And that has it's actually made for putting in a music split or any type of split into your RSS feed. It builds that block, which you can just put into your RSS feed, which we'll be talking about a little bit later as to what exactly that is, because I had a question about that. But with the Split Kit, if you're watching the video, if I even put it out with the video, anyways, you can look for the music. So I just look up John Creek Studio. And then once you have that added, what you can do is you click on it, and then you can edit it, and then you edit the boost, and it gives you the actual Lightning wallets for the artist, and you can build it out that way, which I found quite difficult to use their blocks that they create. I might have been doing it wrong, the Split Kit blocks, but it does have a handy little download button somewhere. Where's the download? I saw it before. You can also download the album cover. Oh, yes. Okay. Once you add it, then there's a download button. And then you can download the audio straight from the Split Kit. And so that's quite handy. Very handy indeed, actually. Whether I'll use the Split Kit for creating the RSS block, I don't know. But that's a good way to get the downloaded file. And then I just use Audacity and find anywhere from, it's usually about 30 seconds to 45 seconds of the song which I want to use at the beginning. Cut that off. And then just fade it out. And then play the entire song at the end. So the Split Kit is also free. I'm sure that they have a Lightning wallet, or you can put them in there. I'll look into that also. But then another value for value proposition is the IPFS podcasting. And that is where I host my files. And so all I have to do is host one copy of it somewhere in the cloud. IPFS podcasting will pull that, distribute it amongst the nodes that are hosting it. And what happens is, there's dozens of nodes which host this podcast. And I put a split into every episode for IPFS podcasting. I believe it's 5%. And then that 5% is distributed amongst all those nodes. So they're getting small amounts of Bitcoin for hosting it as well. And it doesn't take much space. I mean, my nodes, I've only got 2, and they're both in my office here. But they are, and this is using up less than 2 gigs. And I've got some pretty big shows on there. And so if you have any hardware, a laptop, a Raspberry Pi, a virtual private server, then check out ipfspodcasting.net, and there's directions on how to install basically put a node onto your hardware, and then you can be contributing to the interplanetary file system. I mean, there's not much cooler than that, really. Interplanetary file system. Should probably have some t-shirts. And if you have any questions, Cameron, who is the gentleman who set it up, is very responsive and, just from what I can tell, a really nice guy. I've had quite a few interactions, mostly through email, a couple phone calls, but he's been very helpful, and it's great. It's also where I have my RSS feed, and so I have my RSS feed, which is just a file. Now, I'm gonna skip that. We'll come back to that later. And so since the last episode, which was, according to this, 6 days ago, there have been 52 requests for that. And then 34 back in the saddle, 63. And then the one with Solomon, 73. And then according to op3.dev, there's been 38 downloads in the last 7 days. So I'm not really sure what the difference between the requests and the downloads is, but it's not a big deal. There's at least a few people who are listening, which is good, and I thank you. And then the value for value sentiment or concept is merely putting out any sort of product and just putting it out for free, not paywalled, just out there in the ether. And if somebody gets value from it, they can return it. And with podcasting, it's at least this podcast is in the form of Satoshis is the only monetary way to donate. Lightning wallets. And then, but there's so many other ways. And I go over this quite a bit, but it's an important concept, and I think that it is the way going forward as far as decentralized, taking out the middleman, not having to worry about getting canceled by Patreon or Patreon failing, or YouTube monetization and having annoying ads being played. I listen to some podcast and it's brutal. I really like the podcast, but sometimes there's 10 minutes of, literally 10 minutes on one of them at the end, and there's maybe 3 different ads, and they're played 3 times each, and it's unbelievable. So I having the value for value model is such a preferred method, at least in my opinion, just because those ads are, for one, I don't care about them, and it's not products that I'm going to use. I don't even agree with most of them. And for 2, it's just annoying to have to listen to them. And I know that some of them don't even match up with the ethos of the podcast or the person who is putting it out, the podcaster. I sent an email to one and said, "Hey, this is the commercials that are playing, or the ads that are playing." And he got back to me and said, good, they're wasting their money because my audience isn't going to give them the time of day. And so that's interesting. It's kind of a conundrum of what, I'm happy that he's making money. I don't agree with the ads either, but that's what he chooses to do. And I mean, he's successful, and that's great, and more power to him. I just prefer to not do that and not have. I mean, nobody wants to sponsor me anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. But even if they did, I wouldn't take sponsorships. This is all value for value, baby. Okay. So we talked about value for value. Let's head into the editing enclave and see what's going on in there. I talked last episode about album art and creating new cover art for each episode that is produced. And this time I used Castos, CASTOS.com, because it had, I think they're a podcast hosting company, but they had a specific cover art tool, and so I wanted to try that. And my note here is it's not great, but it's free, so that was good. It's pretty basic. It's not AI generated. It's not even really generated art. From what I could tell, it was just all pictures, and then you could pick a picture, and then it makes it easy to put text over the picture. So kind of something you could do with just about any graphic design program or GIMP or something that allows you to edit pictures. I mean, you could probably do it with any phone or computer with apps that are built in when you get it, I would imagine. And the cover art did work this time. It was picked up by all the podcast players that I tried it on, including Fountain. So it's an iTunes image tag, and it's beyond me to understand why it is or how it is like that you have to have an iTunes image. I've got an email out to a friend. Well, I call him a friend, a fellow podcaster, way above my technique or skills. But hopefully they will get back to me. I sent a boost. That's a good way to ask a question of somebody, is to send a boost. Of which, I forgot to even say that in the value for value section, is that I did get a couple boosts, and I know who they're from, even though it says user 26112029. It's actually a friend of mine, Kim, who both orange pilled and purple pilled, which is Bitcoin and Nostr, in the last couple of weeks. And she had a response to episode 33, Mud Skippers with Solomon, and it just says bum ribbit, haha. So that's it's pretty funny, and you'd have to listen to the episode to understand it. But then she also came back and said to help me understand the acronyms too. Pretend I'm an alien and don't understand much. So that was what we'll go over with, even with the RSS. And I'm trying. I don't really know the happy medium between what I'm trying to say and how to say it, because it's hard when you try to, I mean, I'm not an expert in anything by any means, but without knowing what people's understanding or their level of understanding of something, it's hard to speak up on it without, breaking it down to the basics every time. And so that's kind of where I'm at, trying to figure that out with podcasting, basically, and the goal of this show to create a roadmap on how to build a podcast on a shoestring might be a better title for this. But thank you, Kim, for the listening and the boosts. I will
Door start conference recording. Door stop conference recording.
And so I'm whoa. I think somebody just jumped into the chat. Door jumped into the chat on Hive Talk, and it just threw out some pretty audible stuff. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Door? Yeah, well, we'll address Kim's question a little bit later. There's one of the things about, well, with the RSS is the transcripts tag, and it's still not working on the Fountain app. I think it works on other apps. Let me know if you're listening to this and you have you're listening on a podcasting 2.0 compatible app, and if the transcripts work or not. I do have a pretty it's built with gum and duct tape using a virtual machine and some open source software that I've hacked together to create my own transcripts. And from what I could tell, they work in some apps and they seem to look similar to other people's transcripts. So I don't understand why that wouldn't work. And then the only other note I had on here is using OBS this time. So it should be interesting to edit. And I don't know if I will release, because there's video now with OBS here. So I don't know if I'll release anything. I don't necessarily want to put it on YouTube, but I might. Or I'd like to put it on a Nostr video sharing site. So yeah, we'll see. But anyway, that's enough of this editing talk. Let's get out of here. Go outside where it's sunshiny. One thing I'm going to be doing is, if I can get this streaming sorted out, then there's another tag in the RSS feed, which is a live item tag, which actually brings me to the tag of the week. And that is the live item tag, obviously. And so that one you can set, and then it throws out an alert to the podcast players. And I'm not sure where else, but then so they can show that you are going to go live at some point whenever you pick it. It seems like a pretty complicated one, so I'll see if I can figure it out and then use that for the future episodes. So yeah, my friend Dora is in the chat here, and we're trying to work out some issues with Hive Talk. The live item tag, that will be hopefully sort that out for next time and be able to use it. Okay, that's a tag of the week brought back by popular demand, although there is no popularity or demand. We're going to go into one last section here and just talk about what else is left.
Blah 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 blah.
Another streaming option for Nostr is Zap.stream, and I looked into that, and that cost a little bit. It's you're going to be using Satoshis to stream to there, so I might look into that as well. But it doesn't fit into the trying to get everything open source and free. But it might be a better option or another option for Hive Talk and Zap.stream, or it might just be one or the other. We'll see. And then another, I've been sitting down at my computer more than I have in months, and I'm trying to migrate my Albi wallet, which is what I use and I would highly recommend for an easy way to get started with the Lightning Network. But they're going away from a custodial wallet, which means that they hold the keys and they're in control of the wallet. I mean, you use it, but if they wanted to, they could rug pull, which basically just means that they take everybody's Bitcoin and run with it. So a common practice for coins that are not Bitcoin or that are custodial wallets, and they just vanish one day with all of your coins or tokens or whatever you're storing in there. Ivor's back in the chat. Thank you, Ivor. Seems to be working much better than on his laptop than his phone, so that's good to know about Hive Talk here. And with the migration, it's creating a custodial wallet of your own, and it's actually a Lightning node. And so if you get into Bitcoin or pretty much anything, you want to eventually you want a non-custodial wallet, which means that you are self-hosting it. You're in control of it, and no one can take it away from you. And what I talked about before is with the IPFS podcasting. I mean, you can self-host a Bitcoin node as well, or a Lightning node, and all you do need is an old laptop or old computer. I've got mine running on a Raspberry Pi 4 at this point, and it seems to be pretty stable. And the only thing I wanted to talk about still is my friend Kim's question about RSS feed or about acronyms and everything else. So I just wanted, this is my RSS feed that I'm showing here now. And an RSS feed it's all it is a file with in a XML format. But that's all. It's a file with words on it that are in a certain format, and if you look at it, you can kind of see how it's sorted out, how it's separated. And according to Wikipedia, which for what that's worth, the RSS, which is really simple syndication or RDF site summary, and it kind of goes into what it is. But the basics of it is that it is only a file, but it's your source of truth, and it points to everything else that you're doing. But when it comes down to it, it is merely a file, and each podcast has an item tag, and then that just has the information for the podcast, or whatever. You can use it for music or books or anything else that you want to. And then as far as that goes, it's the same thing with the chapters. If you create a podcast and you want to have it chapters within it, all you have to do is link. It's a JSON file, which again is just another file with a certain text formatting. And then you just put the start time and the title of the chapter and an image you wanted associated with it. And then Podcasting 2.0 enabled podcast players will simply pull that information in, and now you've got chapters for your show. Oh, yes. Ivor in the chat here is a file with words on it. That's deep, man. Yeah, exactly. And if you have any other ideas as to how to explain this, this goes back to what I was saying before. It's hard to know what the technical level that we should be talking is. So yeah, that's it. I'll try to get this. If you want to see it, if somebody wants to start a podcast, I don't know. My friend Dora's in the chat too, and I'm sure he would be willing to help anybody out. But I'll share. I mean, you could look at anybody's RSS file that you want to that's public. And what I did was I just took another podcast file and copied it, and then just edited it to my own. And yeah, that's where, I mean, if you go to ipfspodcasting.net and you find this show, there's a link to the RSS feed, both the one that I created, and then they create their own too, which then allows players to pull the audio from there, the files. Now Ivor says that his technical level is somewhere around caveman, which I know him pretty well, and I can attest to this. Okay, well, I think that is it. I've been going for probably longer than I should here. And I will play the rest of the Mountain Music Happy Hour by Johns Creek Studios here at the end. And until next time, just try to keep getting better.
Up in the mountains where the pine trees glow, folks come together for a music show. No ticket needed, just bring your cheer. Value for value is why we're here. The sun dips low while the firelight dances. Tunes get rolling and our spirit advances. Pass the hat for the band you see. Your support is what makes us free. M2H2, let's raise a cheer. With value for value, we're keeping it clear. Mountain music and a happy hour too. It's a priceless vibe and it's all thanks to you. Strum of the guitar keeps us in sync. Laughter flows free like the finest drink. Voices harmonize with the whispering breeze. Here at M2H2, we're as easy as you please. Footsteps tap on the old wooden floor. Every melody opens a new door. Stories told in every chord and line. A heartfelt bond that stands the test of time. M2H2, let's raise a cheer. With value for value, we're keeping it clear. Mountain music and a happy hour too. It's a priceless vibe and it's all thanks to you. Let's raise a cheer with value for value, we're keeping it clear. Mountain music and a happy hour too. It's a priceless vibe and it's all thanks to you. Strum of the guitar keeps us in sync. Laughter flows free like the finest drink. Voices harmonize with the whispering breeze. Hear it into H2, we're as easy as you please. We're as easy as you please. We're as easy as you please. Footsteps tap on the old wooden floor. Every melody opens a new door. Voices hum in every chord and line. A heartfelt bond stands the test of time. M2H2, let's raise a cheer with value for value, we're keeping it clear. Mountain music and a happy hour too. It's a priceless vibe and it's all thanks to you.